Okay, we'd like to welcome Rory McIlroy into the interview room, making his 16th career start at the BMW Championship, our 2012 champion. Rory, welcome back to Bellerive. I know you've been here the last couple of days, and for the first time since 2018. Talk a little bit about the test of golf ahead of us this week.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I remember, as I played the course yesterday and then today, like it started to come back to me a bit more. But yeah, it's a. I feel like a lot of these courses that we go to for this tournament, the BMW, they're like big, long, sort of modern golf courses, which I feel sets up well for me. Definitely, this course gives you a little bit more room than Memphis did last week, so that's good for me at the minute. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's BMW Championship. I feel like they've done a really good job of sort of presenting this tournament, all the way through. And I've historically done pretty well at this tournament. As I said, I feel like we go to golf courses where they set up well for me, and I feel like that's the same this week. Obviously, need to improve a little bit from where I was last week to have any sort of a chance, but. The golf course is good, and I'm looking forward to getting out there.
All right, let's go right into questions. If you'll raise your hand, get a microphone to you. Yep, we can start right here in the front row. Go to Dan.
In 2018, Rory, Brooks got 63, I think, in the second round. Tiger closed with a 64. Do you see those kinds of scores in this golf course right now?
I do at the minute because it's soft. Depending on what the weather is over the next few days, if it does dry up a little bit, then maybe it'll present a bit more of a challenge. But I do think with how soft the conditions are, the ball's not really doing much when it hits the greens, and the fairways are quite wide, and they'll play just that little bit wider as well because of how soft it is. So yeah, I could definitely see people go pretty low, especially at the start of the week.
All right, Benjamin on the front.
Hey, Rory. Nice to meet you. I wanted to ask you, what you've accomplished so much. What drives you? What drives you to try to win a tournament such as this?
Yeah, I think it's, I think I've talked about this before, but like, I think if you come into events and all you're thinking about is winning, then it's not. There's a lot more to golf than that, right? It's not as binary as you win or you lose. I've had, fifth place finishes that have felt like wins to me because I haven't played very well during the week, but I've got as much out of my game as I can. And look, if I somehow am able to put myself in a position to win this week, that would be amazing. But I think just seeing some progress this week from where I was last week would be a win for me. It's a process, it's a journey. Obviously, you try to build up to those moments where you do put yourself in position to win. But I've played 280, 290 PGA Tour events. I've won 30 of them. So there's a lot of times where you walk away where you don't win, and you have to take the positives from those as well. Yeah, I mean, if I can, I'd need to start playing a bit better than I am now to have a chance. But yeah.
All right, let's get Mark and Bob in the middle and then two in the back.
Rory, Scotty was asked about the possibility of live guys coming back and whether they bring value, in your opinion. Are there guys, if it goes away, that should be allowed back?
I mean, I'd argue, have they brought value to live? I think PGA Tour is in a really good spot.
All right, Bob.
Rory, you obviously, going into the Masters, you didn't play for a few weeks, and that strategy worked pretty well for you, obviously. I'm just curious if you've had any difficulty with the balance of tournament golf and not tournament golf at this point of the year, or is just the Masters just such a different animal that you can't compare?
I think it's a different animal. I obviously played a lot up until I took the 3 weeks off. Obviously, having to withdraw from Bay Hill wasn't ideal, and then playing with still a slight niggle on my back at the Players wasn't ideal either. but yeah, you're going back to a golf course that, you know, I've played since 2009. So, you know, and yes, it's changed over the years, but you start to become very, very familiar with it. And yeah, I mean, as the years go on, you try to, you know, life happens and things, you know, that you didn't have in your mid-20s, you have in your mid-30s that you prioritize over golf, right? You know, prioritize things with your family or, you know, things that you don't want to miss. And, you know, that's sort of that's the stage of life where I'm at, where, you know, I don't, you know, not all my eggs are in the golf basket. There's other things that I want to do, and there's other things that I feel like I have to do. And, yeah, like it's a balance, you know, and some years I'll, you know, maybe play more. Some years I'll, you know, maybe play where it's a little bit lighter. But it's just that balance of making sure that you play enough to stay sharp, but then also, I guess, having balance in your life that you feel like you're not missing out on other things that you want to do.
Have you found that you have to, though? You know, you took a break after the Open. You've got to give yourself some downtime. You've got a busy schedule after just these next 2 weeks. Is it hard to find that balance of practice, getting away from it, and even tournament golf?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I mean, I'm playing 5 of the next 6 weeks, you know, so it's not like I'm going to play, you know, over the course of a calendar year. I still play more than most of the top guys because I play on both tours. So, but it's trying to find that balance. And then, yeah, everything, trying to be home enough, trying to make sure you're, you know, home for, you know, it's Poppy's first day of school today. I would have loved to have been home for that, but I'm here. So, you know, just stuff like that, you know, things I didn't have 10 years ago that I have these days. It's you know, I'm in a different spot in my life.
All right, let's take 2 in the back, and then we'll move up to Dave.
Rory, you were really grinding on the range yesterday before your practice round, maybe out there longer than anyone else was. Was that just you putting in work, or is there something in particular you're trying to find in your golf swing?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten into some bad habits in my golf swing over the past few months. And yeah, I think as you play tournament golf, you start the golf swing takes a back seat, and all you're really trying to do is hit shots and, you know, be visual and be instinctive. But as you do that, you can start to revert back into some bad habits. And I've certainly done that this year. Like I took some time off at the end of 24 to work on my golf swing, and I came out early in 25, and I played really, really well. You know, won 3 events, you know, pretty early in the season. And I feel like that was down to the work that I did at the end of 24. And I feel like I have to do some of that work again. So it's a bit of a work in progress. But I spent the day at home in Florida on Monday, worked with my coach Michael and Harry, and we definitely, I feel like we're like heading in the right direction. But yeah, like I have this feeling on my golf swing that I just need to ingrain, and I just need to hit a ton of balls while doing it, whether it be with the, you know, head cover under my right arm, or you know, I've made a couple of clubs up with like different grips to try to feel like where my hand should be halfway back. So I just have to hit a ton of balls to try to get that ingrained, and that's what's hard. It's hard to do that for 3 hours on the range and then try to go on the golf course and play like that as well. So I think the more reps I can get on the range, the more comfortable it'll end up becoming when I get out on the course.
All right, let's go Paul in the back, and then Dave, and up to the front.
Rory, I wanted to ask you about Alex Fitzpatrick. He didn't make a start on tour till the end of April. He's going to make the Tour Championship. Just what you think of him as a person and kind of the play that he's been able to hit the ground running right when he got out here?
Yeah, it's been amazing. I've known Alex a long time, basically as long as I've known Matt. And, you know, we always knew Alex was a really good player. He played the Walker Cup at Seminole. And I, you know, got to spend a little bit of time with him as he was prepping for that. And then he's been on the European Tour for the last couple of years, and yeah, like he's always been very, very talented. He plays the game a little bit differently than his brother, and sort of approaches the game a little bit differently as well. Isn't quite as analytical as Matt is, but he's done fantastically well, and I think that's where I'd love the tour to be. Like, you get these young guys and you give them an opportunity. Like, Alex obviously got that opportunity. He played won Zurich with his brother, but then was in the signature events, and I think he rattled off like 3 or 4 top 10s in a row in the signature events. So, like, giving young guys a chance, like, I think PGA Tour U program is an amazing thing as well. Like, I think being able to give, and then you look at like Jackson Koiven, Michael Brennan, Michael Thorbjornsen, like you look at all these young guys coming through, that's an amazing thing for the tour. And I think, the more young guys that can get that chance, the better.
Do you feel like it's just ebbs and flows of young players? Before that 3-week stretch, we had a run where young players hadn't quite succeeded as much coming right out front. Now a month goes by and there's a bunch of them playing well. Is that just kind of the ebbs and flows of youth in the game?
I think it is, but I think the youth have to be given the opportunities, and there has to be clear, defined pathways, which I think are there right now, and I think that's a great thing.
All right, let's go Dave and then front row.
Rory, two things. One is a loaded question. If a player's won the Masters and the Tour Championship, is that a Player of the Year resume?
No.
No?
No.
Not given.
I'm not the Player of the Year. No chance. Scotty is.
There you go.
Well, sorry, there's 2 weeks to go, but
right.
I firsthand watched him for the first 2 days last week, and if he keeps playing like that, if he gains 9 strokes on the greens every week, we're all effed.
Secondly, given your efforts early in the development of Live Golf, if this week should be its last week, do you take any personal satisfaction from having sort of, I guess, helped to win the battle, if you want to call it that? I don't know. How do you feel about it?
It's a hard, like I feel like I've kept my position consistent that Live has never been a good thing for the game. And whatever 2.0 looks like, if it even happens, they're, they say they're trying to be more collaborative and all that, but I don't know. This is the best platform for the top professional golfers in the world. Were there some things at the start of Live that the PGA Tour could have done better? Or sure, but I think that the guys that went, or you think back to the start with, like, say Phil was unhappy with some stuff or whatever it was. Like, surely that just warranted a conversation instead of blowing the entire professional game up and doing something else. So, I don't take any personal satisfaction of people like losing jobs and like that. That doesn't seem right. But I've always felt like this is the best place to play professional golf, and I'm pretty sure if the PGA Tour were handed $6 billion, it would have done a better job with it.
All right, let's go right here and then Adam.
Rory, you're in this baseball crazy town of St. Louis, and in baseball we have the closer, and if he has a bad night, gives up a game-winning home run, the closer always says the key to my success is a short memory. And I'm wondering, like, after what happened in Memphis, can you take us through that? Is the key for you a short memory, or how do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in all sports you have to have a short memory, good and bad. I think if you dwell on your failures too much, that's a bad thing. But I think if you dwell on your successes as well, that's not a great thing either, because every week, every month, every year, there's new goals and new targets and new things that you want to achieve. So, as Ted Lasso says, be a goldfish. But there are things that you need to, I need to remember things from Memphis because I need to know what to learn from and what to work on. And so, yes, you learn from your failures, and then you try to do better the next time. So, and I feel like over the course of my 18, 19-year career, I've been able to do that pretty well.
All right, we're going to take 3 more. Adam, Doug, and Jack.
Could you elaborate on why you think the PGA Tour is in a great position, and what would you like to see them do with the $1.5 billion that they have?
I think they're in a great position because I think that the emphasis now is on getting the people tune into the PGA Tour because they want to see elite competition, and they want to see things that are meaningful and things that matter. And I think with the creation of the 2028 schedule and things that the FCC are doing with Brian and the rest of the team, I feel like the weeks will be more meaningful, and they will feel like they matter more. And I think also the closer collaboration with the DP World Tour, obviously the Asian Tour has now been brought back into the fold. I think everyone started to work together a little more closely. I just think they're in a really good spot. What I'd like to see them do with the $1.5 billion. I've said this to Brian. I've said it to people that work for him, Drew and whoever else. PGA Tour has got an unbelievable marketing platform. They're on TV basically every week of the year. I think if they could spend that money and try to own more of the golf space, you think about the recreational game. And how much that's booming. They had to get rid of a tee times business during COVID because the reserves got pretty low because of everything that happened. You go down the path of buying part of a tee times website again. You go down the path of Versant, who I'm involved with. They just bought Full Swing, the tracking company, for $530 million. If another say a TrackMan or a Foresight or whatever came up to buy, being able to put money into that and then plugging it into this unbelievable platform that you have for the PGA Tour and being able to scale it that way. So from a business perspective, there's a lot that they could do with the $1.5 billion. I think they could own more of the golf space, professional and recreational. And now that all the players have equity in the tour, I think that's the way to grow the enterprise value of the business. I mean, I think we all know that by the time the media rights cycle comes up in 2030, if Brian gets the same deal as Jay got in 2020, that would probably be a good deal. With the way everything's going in terms of linear TV, streaming, NFL's he's talked about this. NFL's going to take more of the media rights going forward with their deal. So the other sports are really just fighting for the scraps that the NFL leave. So if he can get the same deal that we got in 2020, that would be amazing. So in terms of growing the enterprise value of the business, media rights, sponsorships, yes, sponsors are going to step up and pay for these championship series events, but that money's going straight back into the tournaments and honestly the players' pockets. But to actually grow the business and grow the enterprise value, they just need to own more of the game on both sides, professional and recreational.
Going back to your answer about the live players coming back, don't you think it would help to have Bryson, John Rahm, maybe some other player, for the next media rights to be able to say all the best players play here?
Eventually, yeah, maybe. But I don't think it's... eventually they will. If they play the golf and they it's not... I'm pretty sure, I'm not part of these discussions, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to be welcomed back straight away. If they were offered this returning member program back in February, the one that Brooks took, then yeah, maybe. But, that has sort of come and gone. And I think it was said at the time that the deal that they might get going forward if they do decide to come back isn't going to be as good as the one that Brooks got. So, yeah, I'd say it's going to be a tough road back.
All right, let's go Doug, and then we'll wrap with Jack.
Weird one here, Rory, but as a guy who benefits from it, do you think there's too much money in golf right now? Prize money, I guess I mean.
No, because I think it's whatever the market's willing to pay. And we're getting sponsors to step up and pay for these titles of these championship series events. So obviously these companies see value in putting that money up. So I don't think so. Again, it's whatever, if someone's willing to pay that, then that's the market value. And so no.
Okay. Well, I started there to get to this. As we go forward to whatever the postseason is going to look like in 28, how much should bonus money, prize money, that part of it, be an incentive?
Well, I think it's an incentive. I mean, we are professional golfers. Like, we're not just Bobby Jones out there not playing for prize money. We turn pro to make money playing golf. I mean, that's a part of it. But I don't think it should be front and center in terms of like what we're talking about, right? Like, it should be about other things. Like, I think we should play. I had a conversation with Brian about this yesterday. We should play into the history of this is the Western Open. This was started in 1899. Like, we should play into that history. That should be what we are talking about when we come to these tournaments. Yes, BMW are putting up the money, and that's amazing that they do, and they support golf all over the world. But this tournament has so much history, and I think that some of that, as we've gotten into like commercializing the PGA Tour, has gotten lost. But I think there's a way to thread that needle and be able to do both.
All right, last one, Jack.
I just want to follow up on what you were talking about with your swing feels and how you said you built up clubs with different grips. Can you elaborate on what you were doing? Are you talking about a different grip, different wraps, changing where the rib is?
No, it's so that flat cat putter grip?
Yeah.
So you basically put that on a club at a 45-degree angle. So like halfway back, your right hand sits on the flat part of the grip, like on top, like where you'd sort of want your grip to be, like where you want your right. I want my right hand on top of the club halfway back.
Okay.
So the flat cat just gives you that feeling of where it needs to be.
And you hit balls with that, or you just
you
takeaways?
hit balls with that. Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Rory McIlroy, thank you for your time. Best of luck
Thank you.
this week.